I need you hyped. Don't be yawning.
This was me this morning.
I know.
At the end of snatches, clear to jerks, squats kind of came up a little. That 130 triple though, that was
money.
That was money. My name is Shelby Pflug. I am a 60 with the new class, 63 kilo weightlifter, former Division I gymnast, and I've been in elite sports my whole life, so making weightlifting my journey now.
How long were you doing gymnastics for?
My grandmother owned a gym, and my mom was a college gymnast, so I grew up in a gym. I did gymnastics my entire life, from the age of 2 to 22 throughout college. And from there, I went pretty much small gap right into weightlifting.
And then, how did you go from gymnastics to weightlifting?
After I finished gymnastics, I was medically disqualified after rupturing my Achilles. So I was going through kind of an identity sport crisis, and I was experimenting with new sports, running, yoga, HIIT training, and some of the instructors at the HIIT training studio were actually Olympic weightlifters. I didn't know it was a sport. And I went to go watch one of their meets, and the rest is history. 7 years later, here I am. I just wanted to try it for fun, to try to stay active, make some new friends, and I ended up liking it. I was kind of good at it, and now I'm, kind of like everybody else. It's just part of me.
Yeah. Do you remember trying weightlifting for the first time and the moment you realized, I like this?
I was terrified at first. I didn't know anything about weightlifting. I didn't know it was a sport, and with gymnastics, the culture there is kind of more about being petite and not having a lot of muscle mass, at least the old school culture. So I actually, even in college, even though we had time in the weight room, we never did weights. So I didn't know anything about it. So the first time trying weights with a barbell and seeing everybody around me throwing different colored plates and all these plates stacked on, it was almost overwhelming. But yeah, I remember when I tried it, it gave me a little sense of empowerment, which I did like, and that was kind of, I feel like, the pull that pulled me in.
Was there any strength training in gymnastics?
So in club, we did not do anything. Everything was body weight or cardio, stuff like that. So we did lots of pull-ups, lots of rope climbs, lots of mat pushes. But then in college, we would do sprints. I think a few times we would do some dumbbells, do some flies, maybe some rows, lots of pull-ups, lots of bike riding. I never did anything with a barbell. I've never done a clean. I never did a snatch. We never did loaded squats, nothing.
Did it come natural? Did you struggle doing an overhead squat?
No, I think for me too, the parallels between the two sports, I was able to make the connection. So a lot of the cues or corrections that they would give you in weightlifting, I had heard in gymnastics. So I was able to make that connection for me, which I think helped me find the positions and the movements very quickly, which was kind of cool because I love finding parallels in sport, and I think that was very helpful for me.
Okay, so that's a good segue into this next question. In what ways was competing in gymnastics similar or different to weightlifting?
I feel like it's kind of like a two-part answer, because gymnastics and weightlifting are both very individual sports. So I've only ever done individual sports my entire life. I've never done a team sport. Except for when I went from club to college gymnastics, it went from individual to team. So for that part, that was kind of the difference in that sport. And then finding weightlifting where it's a little bit more individualistic again, I think that is a similarity, because everything is a result of the effort you put in. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, I was able to be pulled into that because I love being able to push myself to find my max, to find what I'm capable of, to find my true, maximum effort every single day even.
Being an individual sport, you're still in a team, right? Same with weightlifting, it's very individual, but you're still a team. Is there a lot of obvious similarities there too? In competition, did it feel like I'm on my own, or?
I think in club it did, because we also had age groups, which I feel like was kind of your weight classes in weightlifting. I I mean, it's so hard to answer that question because there's so many similarities, but there's also so many differences. I was very close with my team in club gymnastics, so like it did feel like a team effort. But if she had a bad day and had a bad meet, there wasn't really like a team award. So it was unfortunate, and you're feeling her feels, but you still had to do your job, which is, I guess, very similar to weightlifting. But like the cohesion, the training, it feels very similar because you guys are all there doing the same thing every single day, trying to get the same results for the same goals. So in that aspect, in terms of training, it does feel very similar.
Right. Okay. Now, if your younger gymnast self could see you today, what would she be most surprised by? Or not surprised by?
I feel like, and I think this just comes with like age and experience, I'm a different person, but I'm the same person. I think one difference would be like my confidence level. I love training, and I loved it when I was younger, and I love it now. But I think like learning lessons throughout the sports that I've done has changed my mindset and my approach to everything. Where before I was like, I have to be perfect, I have to do this, I have to do that, which maybe was a little bit present in the beginning of my weightlifting career. And then after having some like turmoil and some injuries, I feel like it shifted where I'm like, I don't have to do this, but I have to find the wins in every day, and I still get better every single day. And I feel like that helped me like reignite the joy to find like the joy in sport again, if that makes sense. So I think one thing would be like, you can still find wins in every day and be happy, and it's not like you have to do this in order to see success. Like I understand that now, where sometimes you're not perfect, and that's okay. And I think that just comes with experience.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good, come on.
Come on, Shelby.
Do you think that version of you, or that you in that time, could see you snatching what you snatched, clean and jerking? Yeah, we had a pretty awesome weekend of training.
Yeah.
And yeah, you hit some pretty awesome numbers.
Thank you.
Do you think, Shelby from 10 years ago, if you told her, like, hey, you're going to be snatching this one day, you're going to be squatting this one day.
Yeah. First I'd say like, what's a snatch? Like
Yeah.
I didn't even know. But yeah, if you had told me, even while I was in college gymnastics or right after I finished, that I would do another sport that required all this time, I'd be like, you're crazy. But I also just didn't think that like I could do those things. I remember when I started weightlifting, I went to my first AO series with my teammate Maddie Sasser, who at the time held all of the records in my weight category. And I remember like specifically being in the A session loading for her. I was in a G session. And it was awesome. I had a blast, and I was just getting started in weightlifting. But the difference from G to A is so big. And I just remember watching, being like, I hope one day that I can be here one time. And so I think like that also helped me like make goals. But it was just so crazy. If you had told me 10 years ago that I would be, in A sessions competing nationally and actually wanting to grow muscle and embracing the way my body is, I would have never believed you.
Yeah. Would she lose your mind if you told her, oh, by the way, you're also going to Cuba?
Yeah. That is, I would have never.
To represent Team USA.
Yeah. It's still mind-blowing for me sometimes to think that I did that. It was a very, what I felt like a lofty goal when I started. I feel like because of my experience in gymnastics, I didn't get to reach all of my goals just because I had so many injuries. So I was very hesitant to make goals when I started weightlifting. But I did have that small glimmer of hope where I was like, I want to be nationally competitive. I want to medal nationally. I want to go represent Team USA. So to even think that I had the opportunity to do that is still mind-blowing to me. And I never would have believed you if you told me that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Especially being like the oldest and like in my not my weightlifting career, but like my sport career. Mm-hmm. I did some really cool things in gymnastics, but to be able to do something that high at a much older age, I just would have been like, you're crazy.
Can we talk about Cuba and how that competition went? I feel like it's a pretty fun story.
It is.
In hindsight.
Yeah. Well, first, my mom will never let me live it down that she couldn't go. So sorry, Mom. But it was just so crazy because Cuba is such a different country and there's so many restrictions, especially with the United States. So even just to get there, we had to do all this paperwork and all these tests, and it just felt very stressful getting there. But the culture difference there was almost like very eye-opening. It was an amazing time, and there were so many beautiful, really cool things, but like our cell phones didn't work. There was no internet. The running water was not necessarily running. Even during my competition, I think it shut off a little bit. There was no fans. There was no windows. It was like 100-something degrees in the venue. Like I would do it again 10 times over.
Mm-hmm. Can you kind of describe the competition itself?
Yeah. I can't remember like the prep going into it, but I feel like it was pretty good. I was very nervous, but I tried. One time, I think I read somewhere, and I want to say it was like Jess Lucero one time posted, saying like things you need to remember for weightlifting competition. It's like, you can't put gravity on certain meets because like weights and barbells are the same everywhere in the country, like everywhere in the world. And I was like, that's so true. Like, we had talked about this weekend, but like heavy weights are heavy weights and like let it feel heavy. But you're just doing a snatch and a clean and jerk on a different floor, and it's the same that you've done a million times. So like try not to put so much pressure on it. So I tried to use that mindset going into it. And actually in the warm-up room, I had a horrible snatch warm-up. So we lowered my openers, I think just because like we wanted to have a good meet at my first experience. And I ended up going 3 for 3 in snatch, PR my snatch. It was amazing. And then the heat got to me and I like had a mini heat stroke, and I go and I missed my first 2 clean and jerks, which is usually my jam. And that was the first time I used smelling salts, and we whip them out and just kind of like, for lack of a better term, was like lock in. So
what a competition to blast your brain with smelling salts for the first time.
Yeah, it was wild. Like the whole thing, my energy level and like my adrenaline was so high already, and then to like throw the smelling salts in, but I needed it, you know, so that came to my rescue. I've never used them since, but it got the job done. So that was almost like a scare for me, but I really like reflected in the back room before my 3rd clean and jerk, and I was like, you didn't come all the way out here to not perform. Like, you earned this. Like, show everybody that you can do it. You can be clutch. And I just basically told myself I deserved it. Like, I deserved to have a good experience. And I think all those things combined, you know, I pulled out from the depths of me, and I was able to get the job done, and it was a great experience.
Yeah. Did you feel having, because you missed the first 2 clean and jerks?
My first 2 clean and jerks.
Yeah. Did you feel proud? Was that like your first thought after you made that 3rd attempt and like, all right, you got the total? Or were you kind of hard on yourself, and then maybe, you know, now you look back and you're like giving yourself
I think I was just more proud, because I think the easier thing would have been to be like, oh, it's so hot, I'm so tired, like I missed my first 2, that means it's too heavy, I can't do it. But I think like being able to pull it out from me in like a very important time, I just felt more proud than anything.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because a lot of times in weightlifting, I feel people are very rough on themselves, and they don't give themselves the grace they deserve. Mm-hmm. You know, and somebody in that position might be super hung up on like, dang, I missed my 2 attempts and I didn't get to attempt what I had in mind, but still getting there and totaling is amazing, right?
And I think too, that comes from experience, right? Like, you have to understand that that's part of sport. Like, you're not going to have the best day every day, and it's not always your fault, and there's so many outside factors that contribute to it, but you have to prepare the best you can. And I think if you're able to find, again, like the win in every day, like it just helps you see things from a better perspective. And I think long term, it's healthier too.
So obviously you go to a local meet, there's a certain vibe at a local meet. Then you step it up to a national meet,
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain vibe there. What is the biggest thing that you felt is different between a national meet and then a competition in Cuba? What was Cuba again? Remind me, was that Pan Am?
No, it was just like a small international meet. It was like a Manuel Suarez. I should know the name of it, but it was something like that. But it was, in terms of the participating teams, it was very like Pan Am-esque. There was Cuba, obviously. There was like Venezuela, Colombia. Can't remember all the teams, but that region.
Yeah, but did you step on into the venue and think like, whoa, there's a different energy here?
Yes, I think when I walked into the venue, I didn't feel like I didn't belong there. Like I never had that feeling because I feel like I learned after my first A session at nationals. I had a coach tell me like, you deserve to be here, and like embrace that, like accept it, because it's, before your first A session, you're always very nervous and you're like, oh my god, in an A session, like these girls are so good, I don't belong here. But the one thing about weightlifting is that it's just numbers, right? So it's, you actually in fact do belong there because statistically you're at the top. So when I walked into that venue, I never felt like I didn't belong, but the energy shift of how the United States has their competitions and how the Latin culture has their competitions, it's so elevated, it's so loud, it's like beautiful though. So the energy, there was a lot of screaming, there was a lot of hype. So I loved that. I thought that was so cool. And I think in that term it was a little bit different, but in the back room, it still felt very intense. I remember one of the competitors, and I think it was just because like I wasn't really in the sport that long, maybe. So it was like, whoa, I hadn't seen somebody act like this, but she came off the stage and she whips the chair and she slaps herself in the face like twice. But that's like how you hype yourself up. So I think it was cool because I felt very present. But I think that the energy was definitely different, but in a good way.
Yeah. So you said you started gymnastics at 2.
I did.
So, not to give away your age, but that means you've been competing for 30 years.
Yeah, I've been actively doing sport for 30 years. I am 32, but I have been competitive probably since the 3rd grade, maybe even younger, 2nd grade.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. If I had to think of when my first meet was, I know I was for sure competing in 3rd grade, but basically I've been in a competitive sport since, how old are you in 3rd grade? 9 years old?
Something like that, 8.
Yeah, I was probably a little bit younger. So,
yeah,
20-something years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
So with all of that under your belt, you kind of sort of touched on this, but
sure,
maybe we can talk about it a little bit more. But with all of that time under your belt competing, how has your idea of success changed, if at all? What did you think success was then? Now with more experience under you, is success different now?
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of answered that a little bit, but I think when I was younger, I was so focused on like my goal, and I didn't feel like I had success until I hit that goal. So for instance, like I wanted to qualify to nationals and I wanted to get a full ride scholarship, and like I felt like that was the only way that I had success, was like if I hit that goal. Which I guess statistically it is, right? It's successful by doing that. But I think, again, going through all of like the injuries and the surgeries that I've had and maturing in sport and life, I think I can still have those goals, and like that is something that I still want to do. But I know that I gave 100% effort, and it's okay if I don't hit that goal. It doesn't mean I'm a failure, because there were still wins along the way. So I think, again, especially probably the past year, after having like my first weightlifting injury, I had a shift in like my mindset again, and it was very helpful and reflective. So I was able to kind of look and be like, how can I still find success in my recovery journey? How can I find success again in weightlifting? And right now it's just about finding the wins every single day. I don't want to be hyper focused on numbers right now, because I feel like that will set me up for failure. So I think being able to see it from that perspective has actually helped me like progress faster and better and more enjoyable.
Yeah, you just give yourself
some grace for like the first time.
Yeah.
And I think, again, like that is so important. It's so hard to understand. We're our own biggest critics, and I'm guilty of that as well. Like sometimes I'll do a snatch coming back from my injury, and I'll look at it and I'm like, well, it wasn't the most beautiful, and it wasn't this, but I did it. I started stopping saying that first part. Like, why do I need to justify it? It wasn't the best, it wasn't this. I did it. It was successful. Take that win, move on to the next day. I'll be better tomorrow.
Yeah, so I guess using the Cuba example, you were close to bombing out.
Yes.
And that would have very much sucked for you, and you probably would have been so bummed out.
Absolutely.
But you have to also remember, right, that you did a lot to get there.
Right.
Just getting
I earned
there
my spot.
was an amazing accomplishment, and I think people need to remember that.
Yeah.
Don't forget everything you did before, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's been really helpful to also see those things that way.
Yeah. And last question, and it's my favorite one. What would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self at any point in time?
That's such a tough question, and I always feel like I have a different answer each time. I think I would tell myself, like, just keep going, it gets better, just for everything. I think sometimes I would just get so hung up on certain things and want to be perfect, and like just to enjoy it. I think I didn't enjoy gymnastics enough. Looking back, and I think again it's all about learning and growing, and I was so young, but I wish I was able to like enjoy the sport more, which is what I'm trying to do, kind of like my redemption tour in weightlifting. There's so many things that like I didn't end gymnastics the way I wanted to because of my injuries, and I feel like I didn't reach all of my goals. And I think growing and doing a lot of like self-reflection and a lot of like mental sport work, more sport psych work, has helped me like find the joy again in the sport. And I think that was just something that I would kind of be like, it's going to be okay. You know, this isn't the end of the world.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't asked this one before,
Okay.
but we're gonna go for it. The opposite. What do you have to say to 10 years from now, Shelby?
Oh gosh.
Maybe what expectation do you have, or what do you hope?
I don't know. I feel like I've never really thought about that, but
Something that maybe you don't want her to forget.
Yeah.
Or to always
I
remember
think
this.
the one thing too, again with like my approach with weightlifting is like I know that I gave it everything that I had, and I think like if I were to say something to myself in 10 years is like, remember, like you did it all and you put it all out there, so like whatever happens, and like that's your work, like be proud of your work. And I think that that's probably something that I would say.
That's pretty powerful. Yeah. All right. Now, this is just for funsies.
Okay.
I've been wanting to do this. Just a little this or that.
Okay.
Powers or full?
Ooh, I love a good power. Like mostly, and if I had to pick, it's power clean. Like
Okay.
I love power clean.
I love a good power snatch.
It's just something about like the snappiness of it, and like I know at my coaches, I'm not supposed to rip it, like, but you rip it off the floor, it just feels so good.
Yeah. Deadlift or squat?
Ooh. I feel like I do love a good front squat, but I also
Really?
love, I don't back squat. I'm sure that some people know that, some people don't. So really I'm only picking from front squat, which is kind of tough to pick, but I do love front squatting. But I feel like I kind of want to pick deadlift. I don't know. This is a toss-up for me. I love them both. I love strength movements so much. It's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah. All right. Kindle or paperback?
Paperback.
Good answer. Tacos or burrito?
Tacos.
Netflix binge or movie theater?
Netflix. Comfort of my couch, baby.
Of course. Make popcorn anytime you want.
Yeah.
Get whatever refreshment at any time.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's the last one. Always sing instead of talking, or always dance instead of walking?
Dance instead of walking.
Yeah.
I'm not a good singer.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not a good dancer either, but I'm picking dance.
I'm picking dance too. Like I want to hit the streets and just have this little
I feel
swag
like
to me.
it's like joyous. You're
Yeah.
like the energy, I feel like it's less annoying.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's just swag to it, you know? We're like,
100%.
oh, she's feeling good about herself.
She's in a rom-com,
That's gonna
baby.
catch on. Yes. Awesome. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
I loved it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you so much.
Oh,
All right.
that was bad.
Let's get out of here.
Let's go. Let's get some
Hell yeah.
tacos.
Fuck yeah, Shelbs.